it's Diane, the Creative Inkster. Today is Monday, October 24th, 2022. That is Election Day in municipal government in Ontario. So you've probably been out to the polls and back, or maybe did some advance voting or mail-in voting. Hope you got a chance to do that and cast your vote. Tonight's card is one that I was looking for inspiration for. And here's what it looks like. So I had given you a little sneak peek at it and what we're going to do with these interesting strips of black. And how I decided to do this card was I really had no idea what kind of a layout I wanted to do. So I decided to do something we call Case the Caddy, or Casing the Catalog. CASE is C-A-S-E, and it stands for Copy and Share Everything. And it just means copy. Basically copy it. So if you're looking for inspiration and you have a Stampin' Up! Catalog or an old Stampin' Up! Catalog even, that is a good resource to go to. And if you want a catalog and you don't already have a demonstrator, reach out to me and I'd be happy to help you. This is the page I landed on, page 38, and this is the card up here that I was inspired to copy. Try to hold it up there so you can see it more closely. All right, so that's basically what we're going to replicate in my own fashion. So if you are watching live, please let me know you're out there. I know it's a gorgeous night and it's election day and you may be out for a walk in our last dregs of sunshine as the days get longer and the evenings come quicker. And if you're watching the replay, let me know that you watched so that I can interact with you and get your feedback. So we need a couple things for this card. We need a standard card base, and you can do this one either way, either flipping up this way or opening sideways. Either or will work. You're just looking for a front portrait is the direction for a base on the front. So I'm going to take my 11 by 4 1/4 and score my cardstock at 5 1/2. That's in the center. And I got to keep on trying because I've got bridge at 7:30, so I got to switch over to that. And I want to show you another card because there was some interest. Hopefully people will be popping in. Hi Claire, thanks for popping in. And interest in showing off another card. And when I do a dark colored card base like this with Poppy Parade, I'm going to put a piece of white on the inside, and I like to do it early on because if I don't, then later when I need to put these away into my box of cards that I use, then I have a whole bunch of white inserts to cut. So I do it as I go. Kind of makes it go faster and easier. So this is just 4 by 5 1/4, a standard inside layer. All right, we've got our base ready, and we're actually going to work right on the base. So then we need a piece of pattern paper. This is from Celebrate Everything, which is in our July to December mini catalog. And I did this piece at 3 1/2 by 4 3/4. So let's trim this guy down. I'm going to use the same paper because it's kind of nice. So 3 1/2 wide by 4 3/4 long. So that way I get a nice border and my black pieces don't end up right out to the edges. All right, so that's how this is going to fit on here. So let's glue that down in the center. Hopefully if you're playing along, you're going to have cut your pieces. You could make this bigger, you could make it smaller. You can just do whatever you like. I'm going to try to center this as best I can in here. And I am going to build the frame. Ooh, it slipped a little, which is okay because that's what liquid glue does. It gives you a chance to reposition it. And then I'm going to build my frame around that. So for the frame pieces, I cut 8 strips that are 1/4 inch wide. Cutting them smaller might be a little bit tedious to work with. So I cut 2 of them at 4 of them at 4 1/4 inches long so that they would fit across. And we're going to snip them. So they're as wide as the card, that's as wide as I need them to be. And then these ones I did at 5.5 inches, and they're going to go this way. There's nothing magical about this. It's pretty straightforward. All right, so that's basically what we're going to end up with, but we're going to dress it up a lot nicer. And I did not pop these up. You could do that, and you could do that with dimensionals. I'm going to keep it as a flat card. And what you can do is, as I'm going to show you, I did some layering in so that how do I explain this? Remember we did that weaving when we were kids, over and under, that kind of thing, so that all of the pieces look a little different. It gives them a little bit more texture on the card. So I'm going to start with the first one, which is going to go straight down and pretty much at the top of the card. I still want to see a fair bit of red, so I'm going to put it almost halfway of its distance down there, and I'm going to snip them before I go. I'm not too concerned with them being perfectly equal, and in fact, once I snip some, I might decide I need to give them another little haircut, but that's going to work. And so it is a pretty straight gluing exercise. You could use other adhesive. I just feel like liquid glue is your fast one for doing this. So here we go. There's the first one. And just getting the first one set of inside one straight is really going to help. And then I'm going to put the bottom one. So that's the order I'm going in. Once again, I'm going to just snip the edges off. So don't mix up your longs and your shorts or you'll be cutting again. And then I just kind of held it up here. I didn't worry that the angles weren't perfect. I was okay with that. They're going to be far enough placed apart that that's really not going to matter. So add a little strip of liquid glue down here. There we go. Stay tuned because we're going to do that bonus project if I've got time before finishing up, because I've got to get on to my next adventure. So then we're going to do 2 vertical ones, and we're going to put these left and right like that, and once again just keep snipping. So I snipped this way and this way. There we go. And again, half on, half off the DSP edge. There we go. Because I guess it's going to have to go in a little bit more than I intended, because I want the edges to show, the little parts that are peeking out. Woo! There we go. So I want it to be somewhat equidistant down here. Just wiggle it down a bit. There we are. And then we'll do the same on the other side with another piece. Snip the edges, kind of get them to line up a bit. Angles don't matter. And we'll get this one glued down too. You can see I'm using a really small amount of liquid glue. I don't want it to take away too much. I don't want it to squeeze out the edges. So better to go with a little bit and have to add some more than to overdo it and have it squish all the way out. All right, so that's our first set of frames. And then the next one's going to go at the top. We're going to start at the top again, and we're going to go over top of these, and we're going to leave just a little bit of space so that the pattern shows through a bit. Get it right side up, and we'll just kind of get an eyeball the cutting angle. You could get really complicated and measure it, or you could line them up and snip them at the same time. I'm not that inclined to be that precise about it. All right, because I think it just looks great if it's done this way. All right, so we'll go here and here and get that one on. And it's really straightforward. I mean, the strips, you can use your leftover bits. You don't have to cut into a brand new sheet of paper. So you're using up your scraps a wee bit, which I think is always frugal. I keep little pouches with all the scraps of my designer series, or sorry, my cardstock paper. And I kind of keep the other ones in with the designer series paper, but when it comes to my cardstock pieces, that's what I do. Ooh, pieces are getting all over. And then that way I've got strips in different lengths and different widths to work with. Didn't take long to prep this one. This would make a really nice card, like a swap card to share with other people. And like I said, I got it right out of the catalog, so I didn't have to come up with a design all on my own. If you're out there, let me know you're out there. I see Claire has said hi. I want to know who's watching. Let me know that you're here. No, I'm not just talking to the ether all by myself. It is a nice night, though. It's a beautiful night. All right, so that's the base of our card, and then we're just going to put a greeting on it. And to do that, I'm going to show you how to use this punch. So we have a couple of these, or had a couple of these punches. They're called Pick a Punch. You can actually make 6 different punched shapes. So this is what the end looks like, either straight here or bumpy here, and you can do it in 3 different widths. So that's a total of 6 different sizes. I'm going to use this thank you from Nature's Harvest in Poppy Parade. Gold block here. And I find, I find that it is easier to get a sense of how long you need a piece of paper. So I'm going to go with the 3/4 inch wide piece. So I've cut this already to 3/4 of an inch wide, and then edge to edge it's 3 inches, and I'm going to center this on there. I typically go with 3 inches, but you could maybe need it a little bit wider if your greeting is longer. And then I'm going to slide it in, and this 3 inches is not a lot, and I like to flip it over and see that it has lined up nicely at the back here so that my edge is nice and straight. And then I'm going to turn it around, and I'm going to stick the other flat edge in, and now it's getting shorter to get in there, but I flip it over. I just make sure that it's straight. It's not as bad with this one, but with the little bubble there, that side's a little harder to line up if you don't have a good look at it. So there's the thank you. This one I did with the other side on that punch. And we'll put a little bit of dimensionals on that and call it a day. So that is my Case the Caddy idea. So I, challenge you to pull out your catalog, pull out old catalogs, take a look at the layouts if you're ever stumped for what should I do with a card, because this will give you all kinds of ideas. Thank you so much, Claire. I appreciate that. You can go ahead and embellish this as much as you like. So that's that, and we have a little bit more time left before I've got to head off to my bridge club. So I'm going to show you this other card that was getting comments on it this week. Actually, this weekend. So I think I posted it last night. I made it when I was away at a scrapbook retreat. I was participating in a Stampin' Up event, and this was a swap card. I'm sorry, a challenge card that I made. So this is how it opens, and then this flap opens, and then you've got your writing here. You could even extend another piece of white here or here and have even more places to sign. Or what's great about cards like this is if it's going to one person from a group, the back is a nice place to sign as well. It stands up. It's got lots of weight to it. So let's get the measurements and let me show you how to do it. So it's basically 2 card bases. The first one measures 8 by 4 1/4, so a little less than a full sheet. You're going to score it at 5 1/2. So that was 8 by 4 1/4 scored at 5 1/2. Fold that edge over, and we've got our first piece. We've got our piece that looks like this, the pink that looks like this. And then we're going to stick inside of it this other piece of cardstock, which is also 8 inches, scored at 4 inches in the middle, and 3 3/4. You can make it however high you would like it to be. So this is 8 by 3 3/4, scored at 4. Basically, it's going to slide in here, not quite all the way, and fold over. So you can look at it and decide how much you want to leave on either side. But let's decorate it up. On the back layer, it does seem like you're covering up an awful lot of pretty paper. But you know what? I always have lots, and I have lots left over. So I'm going to put a thin border. So this is 5 1/4 by 4 onto 5 3/8 by 4 1/8. So I have a very small border, but enough to show off the color. And this paper is called a Wash in Beauty. And it is paper that I've had since May and have not used yet. So it was time on the weekend to do it. And the reason I designed this particular card was it was in response to a challenge, a color challenge, which was actually yellow, pink, green, and gray. And so I'm just making a different version for you tonight. All right, so then this is going to go on the inside, and it really does pop. You can super see the green popping out from the Calypso coral. Very pretty. And if you wanted to conserve some of your paper, you could cut out the inside of the back layer, still have it layered on, and have some cardstock left over. If you wanted to save a bit of cardstock. It won't show, no one will know, just you and me. All right, so then our left flap, we're going to put, I already cut these guys, a piece of 2 5/8 by 4 1/8. That's going to layer on here, and then 2 3/8. 2 3/8 by 4 1/8, and then 2 1/4 by 4 on top. So let's do the layering first, and then we'll stick this down on the card flap. I don't know what the name of this is. Somebody asked me that. I think it's a form of a joy fold card. I am not sure. I did not create it. I did see the idea and kind of just made the measurements myself. So it's a flip-flap card. I mean, there's all kinds of flip card designs. Whoopsie. There you go. Oh, this color combination is so darn pretty. All right, so now we have to put our inner card in. And you'll see I'm going to leave a little edge here. And I'm going to glue this down. So I'm going to kind of try to make it even there to there. And I think that'll do it. So let's glue the pieces on first and then the piece in just in case something goes awry and we haven't glued it into our card base. So this was 3 3/4 tall. So the mossy meadow that goes on there is 3 5/8 by 3 7/8. 3 5/8 by 3 7/8. We'll put that on there. Now these two measurements are quite close in size. All right. There we go. And then our pattern paper that goes on measures 3 3/4 by 3 1/2. Kind of has an up and down pattern, kind of doesn't, which I like. Makes it more flexible, versatile for cutting. All right, so there is our inner card. And then we're going to glue this down. So we're going to put adhesive on it, and I'm going to eyeball it because that's the way we roll over here at my house. We're going to just eyeball the positioning. Sticking it right down on the inside of the card. Your flaps will fold just lovely. You can extra burnish them if you feel you need to. And the inside piece here, normally I would have a wider wider border, but I want to keep consistent with the look that I have of the thinner border. So this piece measures 3 5/8 wide, 3 5/8 wide by 3 3/4 tall. I think that's backwards. Hold on. 3 7/8 wide by 3 5/8 tall. Close. Now, if you go to lay it down, you'll know you've got it right side or wrong side. It'll be obvious. I suppose you can make it a little bit more square and then I'll have to deal with that, but I did want to have some of this pattern paper showing. All right, so there is your flippy card. And then for greeting, you can just go ahead and put any greeting you like. I don't have anything to stamp right now, and I would actually go with something a little smaller, but because this one was a challenge and I had to incorporate gray somehow, and I had minimal supplies with me on the weekend, I just went with what I could pull together there. All right, so I hope you enjoyed that. 2 for 1 tonight. Thank you, Claire, for watching and commenting. And I hope to see you guys on Wednesday evening. I'll be back with another fun project for you. Take good care. Bye for now.